Hello, I am Dr. Chasity Jennings-NUÑEZ, a San Gabriel resident and the chair of the Human Equity, Access, and Relations Commission. The HERE Commission was formed in October 2020 as an advisory board to the City Council. Our purpose is to advance and advocate for equity, access, diversity, and social justice by promoting safety, mutual appreciation, increased cultural competence, positive intergroup relations, and respect for all members of the San Gabriel community. The legacy and ongoing contributions of the indigenous people of the San Gabriel Valley should be acknowledged and celebrated by all residents, and as one of our first actions, the HERE Commission recommended the city recognize Native American Heritage Month. I welcome you to this virtual celebration that is the first ever official City of San Gabriel recognition of Native American Heritage Month 2021.
From the plants to the fish, everything was here that you needed to supply your village, to supply your people, to feed your kids. That's why us, our people, the native Indians, this is why we're everything that the Creator has given us here on earth is so sacred. We respect everything.
No matter what anybody says, we are very much alive.
People like to say my territory was. I don't say was. It still is our territory. No matter what the political climate is, no matter where we live, no matter how developed it is, it's still our territory. It's still our ancestral land. Well, for me, it's an honor because for the longest, there's never been any acknowledgement. I feel that we've accomplished something because it was never like this before in the past. So it is an honor that everybody's finally noticing or acknowledging that Native Americans, the first inhabitants of this region, are still here. It's time to be heard. It's time to be visible. And it's time to correct the wrongs. It really is. It really is. That's what I'm hopeful for.
It's almost like it's a time of joy. It's happy that we're being exposed finally. Our history is finally coming out. It means a lot to us, you know. And when I say us, I mean even those ancestors of the past who struggled through life to have us where we are today. They're not here with us today, but this is something that they wanted to happen.
Native Americans all over the country are the least heard, and I just don't want to be heard 1 month out of the year. I think it should be ongoing forever. Everybody. You walk, you stand, you work on our ancestral land daily. Your daily activities, your life, everything is centered on our ancestral land. So I think it's something that we should be aware of, conscious of, respectful and mindful that, you know, not just once a month, you know, do it forever, because we are the original inhabitants of our ancestral land where everybody lives and, like I said, conducts all their daily activities. So I'm hopeful that everybody would go just beyond that 1 month.
I would like to see more community, because we come from a line of a people of community. The old dances that we used to have here for the senior citizens, the elders, I would just like to have where the city helps, well, we help the city help us to revive that community again. That's important to us. So I would like to see that more community effort, more people involved in our culture so we could understand their culture. You know what I mean? So that, if that makes sense.
First of all, everybody should be acquainted with the history of such a beautiful historical city. Try to know the different eras of time, well, from the Native Americans, the mission system, and then when all the European and the ranchos. This city here is rich with history.
Like for instance, right here in this little section here, like little, what would you call them, gazebos or what is it called? Little gazebos were informational, little, where you could use now your iPhone and you stop there and you learn about the mission, you know, the grapevine there, where you could stop there and talk or get a little information of history about the little grapevine establishment that's there. Because if you guys know the history of Helen Hunt Jackson, that's where she stood. She's the one that wrote the Ramona. She stayed there, and that's just right where the grapevine's at. People could stop there. There's no plaque that really tells you any information about that part of that history. Where the play, the Ramona, was created. It was created right there. That information's not told. Nobody knows about that information. And when you provide that information, people start to understand the community that they're living in. It's important. San Gabriel is a very important historical city. And people, sometimes, a lot of people forget about that, you know. But everything started here. Remember, this was the opening gates of Los Angeles. So everything started here, and we need to share that history with everybody so they know where they're at.
Aside from just knowing our part of our history, I think it should be encompassed by everybody knowing all the other parts of the history that went on with the city of San Gabriel. The different time eras is something that I think it should be really studied and learned and by our residents here in San Gabriel.
Our storytelling, because that's what our history is based on, the oral history. The oral history that I could share with you in the city is history that I learned off of the elders who were telling those stories. So for me and what I have, and what some of our tribal members and elders that are still alive have, we're able to share that storytelling with the community to help guide you in understanding the community or the city of San Diego. When we used to have the parades here when we were young, and I was I'm talking back in the early 70s, when I was a kid, I would be in the parades here with my cousins and my family. We after the parades, we'd have our dances, our barbecues, and just the regalias, the community, not only with the native, I'm talking about with everybody. Remember, we come from a community here that has the native, the Spanish, the Mexican, and the American. Today we have other cultures here. And our history and our culture, our dancing, especially our dancing, because we love to dance. We love to dance even today, but our traditional dancing, our traditional songs, and our traditional stories, they're very important to us. And we're working our best now to revive all that, because it's important. We want to be able to share it with everybody else, like I mentioned. See, when I always say everybody else, because it's not just us. We're a community here. We've always been a community. You know, my grandfathers who were here, they weren't the native side, but they were the founders of what they called here La Funeraria, which was called the funeral. It was the time of hardship where people couldn't pay for funerals or anything, and it included the community. Everybody would come and pay Grandpa, give him $1, give him 60 cents or whatever, and that money would build to help that next person for funeral or for their family or whatever was needed, you know, for that particular. It was community, and a lot of our dancing ceremonies and what have you have to do a lot with that. Well, you know.
Good question. Every time I go out with my tribe and we go and do workshops or lectures or whatever, I always say a story, and I want to say it right here. And the story goes this way. The chief, he gathered all the people from the village, and he says, we need to do something about our culture, our history. We need to do something about it so that it will never become extinct or forgotten. What do we do? How do we continue it? How do we preserve it so we will never lose it ever, ever? So they were raising their hands. Oh, I know what to do, Chief. I know what. He said, well, what? Well, let's hide it. Well, hide it. Hide it where? Well, let's hide it in the rocks. Let's hide it under the trees. Let's hide it in the riverbeds. And finally, this elder lady, real fragile, shaky, Chief, I know where to hide it. I know where. And he goes, where? She goes, let's hide it in the children. And that is so true, because it's the children that are going to continue the culture long after I leave this earth. And it's important that not only our children, but even you young people, it's important that you learn your stories, your family ceremonies, your celebrations, the foods that you eat during holidays or whatever, because you are the ones that are going to continue the culture for your families once they all take their final resting place, like I will one of these days. And this is why it's important that that history, that culture continue, so that it will never become extinct or forgotten.
Tomorrow, we are only here 2 short winters, meaning you don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. So we're here, keep this history, preserve it. San Gabriel is the archives of California history here in the Los Angeles Basin. It's important that San Gabriel, we share this history with them so they can share it with all of you. Thank you.
Well, I want to leave off with this. Wa'at guwatatayiha nuka, in the memory of my ancestors. Because they're no longer here. We are their voice. We're their voice. The present day descendant, we're the voice. Our ancestors, she compared them, they're like butterflies. Butterflies, they just fly, no voice. So our ancestors are butterflies.